than 500,000 people took to the streets of London over the weekend to protest the British government's proposed austerity program that is going to cut, this is the new Conservative government, they're going to cut $130 billion out of spending and lay off nearly 500,000 public workers, including cuts to child care services, retirees, public safety programs, and by the way, possibly even putting the nation's single-payer health care system or a wholly owned health care system, well, it's a single-payer system, on the road to privatization. Now, the last time the UK saw a demonstration this big was in 2003 against the Iraq War. Front and center of these protests is the UK Uncut movement, as in don't cut our benefits, that targets corporate tax dodgers. By the way, if these tax dodgers, well, actually, let's bring in Erica Sagrans. She is a freelance journalist with the Center for American Progress, thinkprogress.org, and she has been in the UK the last 6 weeks reporting on this. Erica, welcome to the program.
Hi, great to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. First of all, tell us what happened with this demonstration this last weekend.
Sure. Well, I joined about, as you said, 500,000 other folks in the streets of London this Saturday. It was just, an amazing, powerful gathering of people from across the country, who had come. There was about 800 buses that people got up at all hours of the night to come and march. It was, standing in the streets with teachers, with nurses, with, kids and their parents and students. I think, the diversity and the strength of the crowd kind of speaks to the fact that, these cuts are really just going to impact almost every aspect of life there. Child care centers, elderly care, library closures, budgets, local budgets are being cut by about 30%. So they're, being forced to make some really hard choices. But I think that this weekend shows that people are really coming out. There's, real mass popular support, and a movement emerging against these cuts.
Here's what baffles me, Erica. From 1929 to 1932, U.S. President Herbert Hoover said that in response to the Great Depression, we needed to cut government spending to provide confidence to business and stability to business so that they would make appropriate decisions. The appropriate decision that they made was to not spend a penny and stash their money offshore and basically maintain the Depression. We heard these same neoliberal voices, and I realize many of our listeners don't know what neoliberalism means. It's got nothing to do with being liberal. It's the opposite. It's Thatcher conservatism, Reagan conservatism. We heard these same voices tell Ireland that they had to cut back, from the IMF and the World Bank, that they had to cut back on social funding if they wanted to recover their economy. They cut back on social funding. Last week, the results were essentially in. It screwed their nation. They're collapsing and burning. The same thing with Spain. The same thing with Greece. Now Portugal's actually protesting, and Iceland is even saying no to the banksters. I mean, they've got a national referendum coming. To what extent do you think that this is, in Great Britain, becoming a core grassroots national movement that might throw out the conservative government since they can hold an election on a dime? And to what extent do you think that the U.S. is waking up to this?
Yeah, I think it is really becoming a large movement there, and I think a lot of the organizing that I saw going on really sort of sprung from a lot of the student demonstrations that we saw happening there this winter when students came out protesting tuition hikes and, cuts for different kind of student aid programs. I think that got a lot of young people, thinking about this, and since then it's really spread, to a much larger cross-section of folks there. And as you mentioned, there's the group UK Uncut, which I think has sort of emerged as one of the strongest organizing forces behind this. And it's interesting because they're not specifically an organization. They're more of a network. They organize a lot online. They target corporations by, going to their stores, having sit-ins. Oftentimes they're pretty fun, sort of, musical events or different things in stores to draw attention to the fact that they're not paying their taxes. They should be paying these taxes instead of having the government target services that are helping
Well, in fact, they shut down the Fortnum and Mason department store, which is sort of London's upscale version of Macy's, actually, because that company dodged paying $40 million in taxes, or £40 million, $60 million in taxes last year.
Right, yeah, they've targeted a lot of different stores, Vodafone, different banks. But on Saturday, the big action was at Fortnum and Mason. And I think that, as you mentioned, there's a growing movement here, too. There was a U.S. Uncut group that's a spinoff group that's established now. And on Saturday, they had over 40 actions around the country that are mostly going to Bank of America branches. Right. But also it's, gone to a lot of other countries as well. There's in the Netherlands, I think in France, throughout Europe, but also there's even a South Africa Uncut group.
Wow.
There's a Sudan Uncut group that started on Twitter recently, so it'll be interesting to see.
And of course, they're targeting B of A here in the United States because that bank, using 114 offshore tax havens, showed a huge profit, paid their CEOs hundreds of millions of dollars in bonuses, got big TARP money from us, got big bailouts from us, and paid no taxes at all in the United States, just like ExxonMobil, just like so many other companies. Erica, we have less than a minute left. Why is it that all the news footage that I'm seeing in the American press is people breaking windows and smashing the occasional newspaper dispenser? Rather, if what I'm hearing from you is that 500,000 people showed up and they were young people, old people, kids, strollers. What's the deal?
Exactly. In the UK as well, I mean, most of the press has been focused on people throwing things. I mean, there was, definitely some of that, as I think would have happened at any sort of large gathering of that scale. But, I think it's an effort to sort of discredit what's going on.
Right.
And also the police, it was interesting to note, didn't necessarily focus on that. They focused on the UK Uncut group.
That's great. Erica, we're out of time. But thank you for being here.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Thanks so much, Erica, for being here. I truly appreciate it.
Thank
you.
And
this is a classic case, I think, of if it bleeds, it leads, and the big corporations, the media corporations, they don't want to pay their taxes either.